Name is Owen Lopez. Grew up in Indio, California. Um, Both my parents are law enforcement, so kind of had some sort of military upbringing, kind of. Um, Growing up, always wanted to do law enforcement, some type of public service. As I got older, my brother was more interested in the military. So obviously, if you guys have older brothers, you know that you look up to him a lot. So I also chose, hey, maybe the military might be an option. So he went off and did his thing. I don't know how much more into childhood you want to get into. I mean, me and my brother would fight a lot. I mean, he's 4 years older than me, so if you guys have brothers, you know how that is. Yeah, so my mom's brother was in the Marine Corps, and my mom's dad was in Vietnam. He was in first cav, I believe. He was a tunnel rat. And then my uncle was he was in 29 Palms, not sure what division. He was a machine gunner. And then I have another uncle that he was part of the Iraq invasion, also in the Marine Corps. He was a reserve. I forgot what unit he was in as well. But those are the only three that I can think of. I think I have someone else in the Navy. I think I have one in the Air Force, but I'm not too familiar with them. So I think it all started with my brother and my dad. My dad growing up would always collect G.I. Joes back in like the 80s and 90s. So he grew up and brought on to my brother. So I was always playing with G.I. Joes and like whatever other figures I had. So that kind of what started it. My brother and my dad, they loved watching like war movies. So I always watched them as much as I could with them. And then it just always was there. I never like saw it and thought about it. It just was always like, I always knew the military was a thing. I didn't really know what branches were yet. I just saw the military as a military. And later on, when I was about 14, when I noticed my brother started getting more interested, I started getting interested as well. So probably as soon as he could. I'm going to say he was probably 17, trying to get my mom's permission. Obviously, she said no, but that's when I started noticing. So I remember him going to pulley functions and doing all those things. So he had to wait till he was 18. But my mom asked, I don't know, I'm pretty sure she asked him to wait the summer. So he graduated, had the summer off, and then took off as soon as summer was over. So as soon as his class started, or his like classmates at the time were going to college, he took off. For most of my life, I remember trying to catch up to him and like being angry that I was like younger. Like my dad, they were in a previous house for like a year that I was born. My dad still owned the house, and so forever my brother was like, "Oh yeah, it's my fucking house. As soon as I'm old enough, it's my house." Or he had a 2002 Mustang, my dad, and my brother was like, "Yeah, as soon as I'm fucking old enough, it's my car." I was like 4 years old. I was like, "Fuck you, it's my shit. It's my shit." 2 years. I think he had a 5-year contract, so it was 1 year training, 2 years in Virginia, and then 2 years back in Milton. So we're kind of I don't know how to put it. We like to get away with things in the family. So like 4 days, dude would come home, come back before anyone knew. So yeah, I mean, if I don't know how familiar you guys are with like the firearms community, but like T-Rex Arms, Grand Thumb, I mean GBRS, fucking Forward Observations, all those guys, like we would sit down and just watch videos on dudes shooting. Like that's how I learned how to shoot for the most part. Like my dad taught us, obviously, like growing up, but like running and gunning, like doing drills, like most of it was off YouTube. When Hunter had passed away, I got, do you guys know who Milspec Mojo is? Yeah? So I got a DM from him 2 days after it happened. He's like, "Hey man, give me a call whenever you can." I was like, "What the fuck?" But obviously, I was like, growing up from 14, I've been watching this guy. I was like, "What the fuck?" So I like give him a call. I was like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And he's like, "Hey," he's like, obviously apologizing to what happened, like just trying to connect in that scenario. And I'm still like mind blown that he's calling me. And he's like, "Hey, Travis from Hey Strategic and I are gonna head out to Copperhead, New Mexico. We're wondering if you want to. We're trying to invite you out there to come hang out with us and just kind of just talk about everything." I was like, "Dude, I'll fucking be there tomorrow." And so a week and a half after Hunter passed, I was on a flight to Arizona, met up with all of them, and then drove out to New Mexico. We fucking airsoft for a weekend, and then came back, and then I did the not really a podcast, like an interview with Travis. So After the event, yes. I had Travis is very knowledgeable with yeah, just that's an understatement for sure. Having talks with him in his office or in his like office building after the event was really, really powerful stuff. I mean, even with Mojo, I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with his story. He had 2 or 3 of his buddies blown up in Afghanistan, and listening to his stories and stuff like that is, after what just happened to me, listening to these guys and watching these guys, I mean, tell me the story and be vulnerable with me is pretty powerful stuff. Like, I had people from TRX Arms that like barely just met me that day, and they're like, hey, here's the patch I gave you, or here's the patch that I used on my deployment. It's like his American flag patch when he was in the Army. I was like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, I don't even know who you are. So I really didn't really show it. And then when my brother passed away, I was like, okay, I need to be not crying about this. I need to be strong about this for them and stuff like that. And then, I mean, watching, I don't know if you guys watched the video with Travis. I mean, he's crying in front of me and I don't know what to do. That was still at the point where I was trying to just be tough about it. Like, I'm not shedding a tear. And this guy's like crying right in front of me, and he's been through all this shit. Yeah. So I was his first boot, if you really want to call it that. So he would come back and he would like kind of be like a dick, and I was like, all right, you're treating me like a junior right now. I was like, you need to knock that shit off. Or like he just randomly grapple me at some point. So I'm like, all right, dude. So I think it was straight to Jordan, I believe. And then I think he would bounce around. He trained with some Brits over there, some Aussies, I believe. I'm not too sure about that one. But like, I remember him hopping up, playing soccer against the Brits on 4th of July on the 2021. So I remember that. And then he like linked up back with them in Kabul, like same dudes, same 15 dudes. So like everything in the military, it's not for sure. Like my Sudan thing that I almost got sent out for, you're going, you're not going, you're going, you're not going. So he was always saying like, hey, we might possibly be going. And then that was pretty much it. And then I would text him. That's what he would tell my parents, at least. So then I would text him and say like, yo, do you know if you're going or not? He's like, we're told in 2 weeks, but we're not sure yet. I was like, all right, keep me updated. So it was roughly, I can't remember the exact day. I'm going to say roughly 2 to 3 days before he actually got sent out saying, hey, we're actually going. And then he showed me his like boots carrying like heavy ass crates like to the plane. I'm like, all right. That was actually our last phone call, was him saying we're going. Or he said we had like a family phone call where we just FaceTimed him. He's like, hey, we're going to be going in a couple days. And then the night before, he was like, hey, we're going. It's probably going to be my last phone call. And that's one of the things I regret the most. I never told him I loved him. That was one of the things I'm going to regret for a while. Yeah, that was our last phone call before he head out. Besides that, I would just text him. I think he said he'd been up for like 5 days. Something like that, 4 or 5 days. And then he was like, hey, fucking just now getting time to text and go to bed. So I'll text you guys when I wake up. So he just like us over. He was good. So that's all. He was always like, I'm ready to go to Afghanistan, whatever. Like, even when he was in fast, like, all I want to do is go to Afghan. All I want to do is fucking get a real deployment, fucking get his car. So that's all he cared about. Enlisting. So that was where my focus was at. I would keep up with like different Instagram accounts that would post about it. Other than that, I wouldn't. Other than that, I wouldn't really keep up too much. I was focused on getting out of there. So going to these events and doing everything. And then I remember telling him, I was like all hyped up to tell him. He's like, you're a fucking dumbass. He's like, go Army, go fucking Ranger Bat. I was like, why? For 6 months we had this argument. He's just going back and forth, fucking go Army, stop being retarded. And then finally he convinces me, and then I switch up, and that's when I started switching up and going to the Army. So he's the one that convinced me to go there. More opportunities in his mind. He would hint at it, but I think he was more focused on getting out and joining my parents' sheriff's department and going to SWAT and doing that route. Like there was times when he got to do a training like a training event with MARSOC in Fort Polk, and like some of the dudes were like, yeah, it's fucking go AS or go ANS, right? Yeah, he's like, go at ANS and you'll fucking kill it there. So like he had raiders telling him to fucking go do it, but I think he lost interest once he got to the fleet. So I had not a problem. I just didn't want Hunter's name out there when I first got to my unit, and it was kind of hard with the fucking memorial band. Like I had E5s and E6s ripping my arm trying to figure out what was on my wrist, and they were like reading my name, and they saw Kabul, and they just like fucking turn around and walk away, and they were like wiping their face off. So it was like stuff like that, or like they were like seeing my name, like I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his last name right. Ryan Knas or Nas. He was in Geronimo, so he was in my battalion. So a lot of like the E6s knew him, so they were like read my name and they would like see it and like, oh fuck, and they turn around. It wasn't really updates. It was I mean, as we got older, we just like on Instagram a lot, so it was just really just memes back and forth. Like that's really all it was. And like occasionally there was like an Afghan thing, or like occasionally it was like a bunch of photos that you would have. I wouldn't really like text him like, hey, like he'd send me photos, like, oh, fucking looks dope. I remember he took a photo with one kid, and the kid was like looking at his rifle. I was like, why is that kid looking at your rifle a little too closely? He's like, I'm gonna fucking shoot this kid. So there's like things like he's like the kid's like on his like right here, and his rifle's like here, and the kid's like eyeing the rifle down. I'm like, yo, you better fucking watch out with this guy. But like it wasn't really like, hey, how are you doing? I mean, I just saw it as another deployment at the time. So I had at the time I was working a job at the mall, so I parked my car inside the mall parking lot, and then walked to the recruiting office. It was like down the street. So I parked it there, and I was like sending him. I was just texting him, I was like, hey, I'm going to win maps. He's like, all right, don't fucking get the job that you want and fucking be done. I was all right, cool. And then that's pretty much it. It was pretty much that. Other than that, it was like memes back and forth. So I was in MEPS, and at MEPS you're not supposed to have your phone. And I sat down in a corner, and so that way I can see everyone. If they're looking at me, I can fucking put that shit away. I was bored waiting for I forgot what I was waiting for. Like one of the physicals or something. And open my phone, go to Instagram, first thing that pops up, 2 Marines KA, Afghanistan. Like, oh fuck. And my name gets called up, and had to put my phone away and fucking go do whatever, come back fucking 7 or 8 K. And my heart's fucking pounding at that time. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm getting text messages from my mom. Like, anyone know what's going on? Like, anyone got any updates from? Like, no, we haven't gotten shit. I'm like, fuck. Got called again for some other fucking stupid appointment. Come back. I think they overshot the amount of KA. I think it was like 14 at the time they said. Like, they'd overshot it by a little bit. And they're like, fuck, dude. And one of my buddies that I went to high school with was actually enlisting to the Marine Corps while I was switching into the Army. He saw me down. He's like, hey, what the fuck's up? I was like, dude, fuck. I showed him the Instagram post. It was like 14 KA. I was like, he's over there. Like, most likely gonna be him. He's like, no, dude, you're tripping, you're good. It's like, all right. Like, I put my phone away, get picked up by my recruiter. And my recruiter was prior infantry in the Marine Corps, switched over to Army infantry. And I'm like talking to him about it. He's like, nah, dude, your brother's fine. There's nothing's gonna happen. I don't know. I'm not like just gut feeling like not because I had sent him two memes in the morning. I didn't get anything back. So I was like, and then I sent the 2, went to Maps, saw the post. I was like, he hasn't sent anything back. Usually he's like pretty quick with it. So I was like, he's probably just busy if it just went off. So I was like, all right, whatever. So when we got home, so Indio to San Diego is about a 2-hour drive. So I had a lot of time to think about what the fuck was going to go on. Kind of mentally preparing myself for it to happen. To receive the knock. And so I get home. No one else was home at the time. My sister had a volleyball game. So they were all there, and I just got home. So I was like, eating whatever I could find. And my sister was driving at the time, so she took her own car. My dad had just gone off work, so he took his own car. And then my mom was driving her car because she had, we were fostering him at the time, but my adopted little brother now, he was 4 at the time. So 3 different vehicles. So I'm eating my food, watching some video. And then it's sunset had just happened. So like the sun's still kind of out. You can kind of see some sunlight, or like some light from the sun. And then, I see a car come up to the driveway because the windows for the house is here, and then the driveway's going this way, so you can see the car pulling. So all right, cool. They just got back in the game, and then usually with the car, you'll see the car lights hit the window, and then it'll drive into the garage. And they stopped at the window. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And like we have a clicker for the garage, so you hit the clicker and it opens. She hit the clicker, the garage didn't open all the way. It was like halfway, like probably about stomach level. I hear it. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I hear a scream. Oh shit. So I fucking drop everything, fucking rush out the garage and like go underneath. And my mom's outside the car, or kind of like outside the car, kind of like resting on the car, crying, and 2 Marines are just right there. And I'm like, fucking, it was him. So I walk up to the Marines. I'm trying to hold it in as best I can. I'm still kind of just shocked. I'm not really like trying to hold in any tears at this point. Shake them 2 Marines' hands. I'm like, is this Owen Lopez? I'm like, yeah, it is. And then she tells him, I was like, we're sorry, fucking your son, Hunter Lopez, was hkia, fucking Kabul, Afghanistan. And he was like, can we please go inside? I was like, yeah, sure. And I get my mom out of the car, get her to the garage at least, open up the garage all the way, and then let everyone in, and then my mom lets him in. And the car is still like halfway on the driveway, so I had to move the car up out of the driveway. That's when I noticed that my little brother was in the back, and he's like, what's going on? That's when I first started crying on him. I'm like, Hunter's not coming back. And he's like, why? And we had explained it to him later on, but I had never seen him cry, and that was the first time he cried, at least in front of me. So I get my little brother out of the car, and then as soon as I'm like carrying him right here, my dad pulls up. He's like, what the fuck's happening? Like, it was Hunter. And then so he gets inside the house. He gives me a hug, gets into the house, and told him that my mom was inside. And we're sitting at the dining room table. We have a view to the garage, and then they're like trying to explain what's going on. And then my sister walks in, and she sees 2 of the Marines standing, and then she fucking collapses on the garage door. My little brother, he was still trying to understand what's happening, still bawling his eyes out, and he ends up running to his room, and we try to figure out what's going on. They tell us what's happening and what's going on and what's going to happen with Hunter and his body and everything like that. So it wasn't really all at that same time, but more or less like the events coming up in like the next 2 days, like receiving his body in was it Dover Air Force Base. So and then we had immediately started making phone calls to family and friends that night. So I mean, we stayed up till we probably got the knock at 7-ish. I mean, we were up till 2 in the morning that night. So almost everyone that I can think of in my head from when I was born to now was there at the house. Flood of people showing up. I mean, we had deputies rolling up and like lights and sirens all on the way to the house. So that was that night. No, I didn't. I kind of knew, because if it wasn't him, he'd be pissed off that it wasn't him. So, or he'd be pissed off that it was someone else and not him. I was hoping we were gonna get the fucking green light as soon as I got in to fucking head back over, but never happened. I think that's the other thing that contributed to my like more or less depression while I got into my unit, was the fact that we weren't doing anything about it. I mean, I joke with my wife now. I'm like, hey, if you fucking like, if anything happened, I had no family or anything, like I'm going over there and just fucking staying there as long as I can, fucking killing as many of them as I can. Like that's like the bottom of the barrel. For me, that's what I'm doing. I mean, if this, what I wanted to happen was, I mean, obviously I want us to go back there, fucking make people pay, but I'm hoping people that are more secretive than me, that need their faces blurred out, fucking did that shit. So Dover, when we had to fly it to Dover about 3 days after the 26th, the Marine Corps did a very good job, or Marine Corps or DOD did a very good job of getting the families treated right on the way over there. Like, we got picked up at the house, taken to the airport, flown in private jets. Like, it was like we had some guys from some foundation, I forgot what foundation it was. gave us a bottle of sand from every battle that the Marine Corps has been in. It's got a bit of sand from everywhere. But like just stuff like that, just cool things like that. And we were a lot of families. Most of the families are not most of them. There's a few families in California, so they picked us up first, and then we picked up another family, and then we head over to Dover. So we got time to at least talk to people that are also feeling the same way we are. So we get over to Dover. It was the night before the bodies are going to land. The way, I mean, he had said it before. I mean, Hispanic families. I mean, it's not like that we don't mourn for him or anything. Like we'll cry behind closed doors, but I mean, outside, we try to be as strong as possible. At least for him. I mean, nowadays, I mean, military humor. It's the darkest thing anyone will ever hear. Like, I'll make jokes about it all the time. Like, not like that deep, but like I'll make jokes that that he faked his death and that he's like gonna come back in like 50 years and just fucking say, I got you guys. Like shit like that. Like, or like whenever I go see his body, I'm like, hey, what's up, nerd? And I fucking flip him off. Like shit like that. Like he's still my brother. I'm still gonna treat him like my brother. He's not gonna be like, I'm not gonna, every time I see him or think about him, I'm just start bawling my eyes out. Like I'm not, that was one of the things that was holding me back when I first got to my unit, was trying to do everything for him. And that's not the case. That's not what I need to do. And that's why I since stopped going for Rangers. It was like, that's what he had said to do. That's not what I needed to do, which I'm glad he got me at least to hear in my unit, because I love the guys that I work with and love the unit, but it doesn't need to be for him. I'm going to say September 15th, his body arrived. He was in Dover for the 2 weeks. Like they were prepping his body over there. And when I enlisted for the time, but not my actual contract, because I didn't have the job at the time. So I had to go back on September 15th, the day his body was given back, get my infantry airborne contract, and drive back as fast as possible from San Diego to Indio, which is about a 2-hour drive. I remember getting to MEPS and somehow word got out that I was there, and someone had said something. And so I had Marine recruiters at MEPS like pulling me aside, like fucking crying in my face. I'm like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't have time for your shit. Like, I need to go see my brother. Yeah, I remember going 90 miles an hour fucking back home, because I had because they were one of the major at MEPS. It's like talking to me for like an hour. I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. So I got to the airport 20 minutes before his body landed, I think. Like, I just barely made it. I remember most of it's on YouTube now, like his body landing, and the buddy that he went to boot camp with, that's in Raleigh, Mike Chambers, he actually got the opportunity to grab his body in Dover and fly back. So he was his escort the entire time. So that was pretty cool. I can't really speak much about my family since I pretty much left. I mean, 2 months after. I don't know. I can't say if it was harder for them or harder for me. It's gonna be hard for everyone. I can only talk from my experience. My experience was rough, just because being alone over here in the unit. I mean, it was rough because guys were talking about Kabul like it was nothing, and then it would just bring that spark up of Hunter. So that's why it would force me to be in my room a little bit more. Nothing against them. I mean, I never brought it up to them. Just never really want to do that to them. Which is for my own sake at the time. I didn't want to be around that. If you stick on it, then you do what I did and get depressed in a room, and you don't work out, and you get fat, and you stop caring about your job. Hunter had this great, I don't know where he got it from. It was a quote, because he had it in parentheses, and it's on his field chair. It just says, it's 3 words. It's just, it goes on. That's all it says on the chair. I think people need to, not forget about it, but don't be focused on it. Because if you're focused on it, then you're gonna do what I did. I keep this memorial band on my wrist, not to remember him. I think about him every day, but it's to more or less give me a little bit more motivation to keep doing my job. A little bit of a standard. I mean, Nerf wars. We were doing Nerf wars since I can remember. Playing video games with them. Doing our dad would work graveyards, and he'd be sleeping on the couch, and we'd be playing a little too loud. When dad would get pissed and start hitting us. Those are still the core ones. Those are just funny ones. Or funny now. Or even with my my adopted brother. When we got him, we were doing Nerf Wars again. So he was 21 at the time doing Nerf Wars. So just kind of stuff like that. Like I bought him my little brother a like those Protec helmets, like the tactical ones, like the ones that the Delta guys wore in so I bought him one of those. So like he like uses it every now and then. But just stuff like that. Yeah, we'll play. Or like he just started ice skating because he wants to do hockey. So he like wears his Protec helmet to fucking. So I mean, just stuff like that. I'm trying to like. Obviously, I'm not with him as much because I'm over here, but I try to just pass down those little things that Hunter used to do. Or even going to the range when we got older. My dad was just like, "Hey, just don't be stupid and don't get pulled over with the guns." And we're like, "All right, cool." Like I remember, it's like bays in like open bays in the desert, and behind us there's a mountain, and there's no one there that day. And he's like, "You want to go climb that fucking mountain?" I was like, "Sure." And we climbed up and we made a video out of it on sand crawlers. We climbed up and he's like trying to do like long shots. I forgot what the fuck the point of it was, but we just climbed up it. We were shooting from there. So like there's a few videos where it's like us clearing like random containers that we found in the desert, like just doing drills like out there. Like I think it's important to talk about them for sure. Stuff like foundations help a lot. Or even just like memorials every year and stuff like that. Like there was I think it was there was a car accident or like a vehicle collision that happened at work. Like one of the Humvees had flipped over in one of our companies, and some of the guys had passed away from there. And I'm pretty sure the memorial in front of the company is for one of them that had passed away. Just like a chair, and I think it was on Memorial Day. I was doing the Abbey Gate workout. I was doing my last ruck, and I was doing my first ruck, and I see this guy sitting down in his like field chair, feet on this bench, like drinking beers. I'm like, oh shit. And I finished. I'm like doing my last mile for the Abbey workout, and this guy's still there. He's still pounding him. Shit. Like just, I know he doesn't do that all the time. It's only on Memorial Day, but little things like that. Like you do need to, especially talking to people. I'd gotten this from Travis Haley. He had said that warriors would go on ships. Always, when they would do that, they would go on ships, do their whatever conflict they had, come back, and on the way back, on the ship, they would talk about what happened, and that's how they would decompress. Which is, he was explaining to me, is why a lot of like PTSD happens now, because guys are in Kabul one day, 3 days later they're back at home. They had no time to decompress with buddies and talk about what happened. Like same things. I think he said the same thing with like Indians. Like they would talk around the campfire, like stuff like that. Like talking to people helps, which is why like I think that's why a lot of people connect when they're in the field. That's like the most time they can get together. Like me and my AG at the time when I was over at JRTC, like I mean we were attached together the entire time. I mean there was no gun team without us two. So I mean just sitting in a foxhole with them is like, it's just a different kind of bond, obviously. If you're losing someone, it's gonna suck regardless. But you have to you just have to keep going. You can't stay stuck on it.